a girl a-running in a group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod at large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod. She's my hot rod.
I like to go on media day because it's not that crowded, and all the food and all the drinks are free. Yeah, oh yeah. T-Rex was sampling. You ever see a dinosaur eat a muffin from England, or chocolate from Germany, or any of the other really good stuff for you? Yeah, he wigged out. Went all the rides. He had to go on the Kia test track, and he took the virtual reality Camaro drag race. Hello. I was watching him jump up and down. T-Rex just loved it. And he loves convertibles. I had to pry him out of the last convertible. But we had a ball, and it was a good time. I got to tell you why he was taking the virtual test. I kind of scooted my little scooter across the street, the way to the Volkswagen place, and said, "Hey, buddy, do I have to talk to you? Can I talk to you about the new testing of the diesel fumes?" he just looked at me and said, "I got nothing to say to you." We'll talk about the diesel fumes here shortly. You're going to love this. Remind me, please. It's really good. We're going to finish talking a couple of things across the globe here on the car scene. By the way, if you want, you can go to YouTube. You can go to Facebook Live. You can go to the websites of the stations. T-Rex has got us. He's spinning these dials so fast that they're going all the way to Michigan City. And then Miss Jack, who has our back, is sending them out all over the world. It's kind of cool how this works. We are a radio show that turns into a podcast. Kind of cool, huh? Ford Motor Company is expanding its "Do Not Drive," and they mean it, warning to the additional 33,000 owners of the older Ford Rangers. My favorite little truck, man. They are loaded with these killer Takata airbags. The first "Do Not Drive" also includes about 2006 Mazda B trucks that Ford built, which is like a Ranger, but it was Mazda. They built it on a Mazda chassis, Mazda specs. But they were building that pickup for Mazda in 2006. These 05s, 06s, they got the airbag. Well, of course, 2 people just got killed. This is what is prompting all these people from the NHTSA to jump up and say, "Hey, we're all right. We're covering our cans here. We're recalling them. We're doing it. We'll do it." GM, VW, Toyota are among 13 automakers who have pledged a total of $130 million to compensate victims of the Takata killer airbags. The agreement paves the way for the sale of Takata to Key Safety Systems in Detroit. By the way, Key Safety Systems is they make safety belts, they make airbags apparently. And they're a Chinese company owned they're going to sell for $1.6 billion. They're owned by a Chinese company. I can't remember the name of it, but I didn't write it down either. But it's Key Safety Systems in Detroit has now bought Takata airbags. We'll see what happens. All right, this is getting to me. Mary Barra's got some clout in this world for sure. How they got away with their ignition gate, I'll never know at GM. But here, for the third time in the past 3 years, General Motors has petitioned the U.S. government for permission to avoid recalling their killer Takata airbags. If the NHTSA lets GM off the hook, and I don't know why, they save $1 billion on recalling 6.8 million trucks and SUVs from 2007 to 2011. They just keep asking for more leniency. One more time. We don't want to have to recall all these. It's too expensive. Let us go here. Well, why do what Chrysler does? Just don't call. Just don't recall them. Just ignore the government. We'll see how that goes. The Stuttgart prosecutor's office. That's Germany now. We had a call from Stuttgart a month ago. Scotty, and it's in the service out there, is stationed in Stuttgart. And he called us one day. That was pretty cool. The Stuttgart prosecutor's office said 2 employees of Bosch, big company over there, are under investigation of fraud in the newest version of Diesel Stinkygate. Here we go. Involving the FCA Chrysler vehicles. not the Volkswagens this time. See, Bosch got around like a tramp. Yeah. In 2017, the EPA accused FCA or Chrysler of using hidden software, which is Bosch's, to defeat diesel emissions standards. In other words, guess what? Stuttgart says to the FCA and Bosch, you've been had, and we got you. A U.S. House panel is studying whether or not the NHTSA is stretched too thin. They're floundering in their due diligence and their duties for the safety of the American driver. Now, the new director, Heidi King, claims a lack of resources, which translates to money, with their budget down from $905 million to $899 million. They lost $6 million, and now they can't do their job. We're talking $900 million here. We'll give or take a thou. Many changes and upgrades are yet to be met. They just haven't done it for the last couple of years. They're just not doing their job, and that's just not. It's not going to get it. Oh. The latest in the UAW scandal. This, you know what? I'll just read it. I wrote this out. I had a tear running down my cheek. I mean, these guys. Former Vice President Norwood Jewell is on record saying that the cornerstone principle is strained to the max by the UAW FCA GM Ford embezzlement of training funds. That's the cornerstone principle of the union, the UAW. He's the former vice president. Another one that stepped down, or he might have quit. I think he's under indictment. There's one that quit. Being used for personnel by executives and the fat cats in the union. Automotive executives and fat cats stole the dough, split it up, and said, "The heck with the union boys." Well, I told you last week, the rank and file of the union is suing the big boys. They want their money back. That's their dues. That money comes out of their dues. Now, this Jewell guy, while he is under indictment, his pal and another UAW vice president, General Holyfield, was not indicted. Now, Holyfield has passed away, but his widow, Monica Morgan, is facing 27 months for filing false tax returns. Oops. Now the plot thickens. Guess what? Just like when they got Al Capone, they didn't get him for selling booze or drugs or whatever. They got him for not filing a proper income tax. And since this guy is dead, this General Holyfield, he died, and he was indicted posthumously. And now his wife, Monica Morgan, is facing 27 months in prison for filing false tax returns because she never bothered to tell. She never bothered to tell anybody that, hey, by the way, my old buddy, the general, he was stealing. Him and his buddies at the UAW and FCA, and they were all stealing the money. This is the core of what's wrong with that whole situation. Our automotive industry is right now booming. Companies are coming here to build their cars. They're building plants here. We need trained people. We need good, solid, trained American workers to come and take care of these, to build these cars. And the UAW is the one that trains them when they have the money. That money comes from grants from the government, from the grants from the car makers, from the rank and file union members' dues. I'm telling you, this is a travesty. At a time when we should be jumping up and down, and just all happy because we got so much car work, we got so much car manufacturing going on, and of course the trickle down effect, the other manufacturing, the screws, nuts, bolts, door trim panels, seats, wiper blades, tires, axles, you name it. They're all working overtime. We need people. And to train these people, it takes these funds. And these funds are gone. These bums, they scarfed them up and walked away with them. And now we're lacking trained people. The states of Kentucky, I think, and Tennessee are both offering 2 years of junior college To anybody that will sign on with an automaker to work at the plant, they can go to these schools for free. For free. The state will pay for it. Because they want those manufacturers to thrive in their state and put their people to work. Now, that's the way it ought to be. So now these guys that did all this stealing and embezzling and all this other things that I'm not going to talk about because it just gets me all worked up, I'm going to tell you. They're wrong. Let me just tell you what's going on here. Here's why. In a story related to that last week it came out. Of course, we didn't have a show last week, but I put this together and I verified almost all of it to the point where I'm now convinced that this actually happened. It turns out the German auto industry is at it again. In a move that smacks of something Third Reich, VW Group, Daimler, and BMW formed a test group, a secret test group, back in 2007 of scientists. And that test group was to expose monkeys and humans to diesel exhaust fumes, which, by the way, cause various illnesses, respiratory illnesses, cancer, geez. But this was a secret testing group. Secret. Cabal, or whatever you want to call it. The group was called the European Research Group on Environment and Health in the Transportation Sector. Well, it got closed down last year after being exposed to the German authorities. They knew nothing about this, or at least they said they didn't. Well, when I asked that guy at VW, he didn't want to talk to me, I'll tell you right now. The group has yet to release results of their studies, nor does anyone know why they were doing the studies. Why, what was the reason or the target for these barbaric tests? They make you sick. They make monkeys sick. They make people sick. They give all kinds of respiratory illnesses and even, yes, lung cancer. Jeez, oh, Pete, what's going on here? While Daimler and BMW are trying to distance themselves from this whole shebang, they're not a happy camper. Volkswagen CEO Matthias Mueller, this is why I went right to Volkswagen to see if they were going to talk. Matthias Mueller claims the tests were repulsive and plans to investigate and take appropriate action. Yeah. Yeah, the last tests that they ran with gases and fumes were done in camps. Yeah, that's just wrong. You don't run tests on monkeys and humans with exhaust fumes. You don't. And I don't get it. Maybe they were, you know what, now that I think about this, since all those groups were cheating on their diesels for the longest time, maybe they were trying to prove that you couldn't, that it didn't harm anybody for the diesels to be stinky, to put out oxides of emissions, or nitrous oxides, or whatever they're putting out, nitrous of oxides or whatever. Anyway, they were way over in their NOx emissions, and they wanted to prove that people could live in a nice, happy atmosphere with that being that way. But they can't. Plus, that's not what the thing was about. They wanted the diesels to be clean for our air, our ozone layer. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But I don't know. Maybe that will be my speculation that's why they did that. Because that's all it is speculation, because nobody knows what was the real reason for these tests. Nobody has come forward and said, here's why we were running those tests. All they know is that the guy from VW, Matthias Mueller, said, this is just repulsive. And he's going to study it up and take the appropriate action.